What is up, YouTube? It's James from Robin Henry Watches. How you doing?
They're still not talking back to you.
Well, you're there, so you can do it.
Well, shut up. I'm tired.
Right, we're drinking... Whoa, we're not getting into that today. I'm feeling super pumped. I'm not tired.
You still butthurt about last time, are you?
A little bit, but when am I not? Anyway, so we're still drinking Peroni, no Heineken. So
it's a budget operation.
We've got a 6-pack to go through, so
it's the only 6-pack I've got.
I mean, me too. And again, at my age, I'm lucky I'm in the shape that I'm in. So if you're liking our videos, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It's magically appeared.
Ding.
Wristwatch check. I'm wearing today the Tudor Black Bay Dark, which I covered in my personal watch collection review on episode 2. I think it was episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2.
If you haven't watched it,
Breath, I'm guessing.
It is Penis Breath Watch. So if you haven't watched it, please check out the channel, go back to episode 2, watch it, enjoy. Interestingly, they've discontinued this watch, Tudor. I don't think it's because...
I was going to say, when did they discontinue it?
I don't think it's because I engraved penis breath on the back of mine, but I think it's because they brought out the new ceramic dark model. So this is steel, but like PVD coated. And the new one is all black ceramic, although not with the bracelets on it.
This could be a big break. Maybe they've discontinued it to do a penis breath edition.
I hope they have. Tudor, hook me up. I am still considering getting mini penises across the side, or maybe a giant one just here on the clasp.
What is the plural of penis? Is it penises? Peni?
Peni? I don't know.
Penises? Penis? Singular?
I don't know. Well,
who knows?
We'll figure that one out when you do the editing. I'm going to try not to burp today. So today we're reviewing my favourite top Bond watches. I'm going to focus mainly on the early films, rather than, when Omega got their claws in. That period was good. Obviously, when Omega came on board, it was Jean-Claude Biver who was heading up Omega at that time, after he'd sold Blancpain, and I'm not going to get into all of that now. But anyway, so he was heading up Omega. He set up the deal, and with celebrity endorsements, he was the first to really push big celebrity endorsements, and he did this deal for Omega, and it's been a game changer for them. And I like the early Bond watches. Some of them in the middle were absolutely awful, like the Quantum of Solace watch. Hook that picture up of the Quantum of Solace. It's all over the dial. It's awful.
It's not
okay. James Bond.
It's Quantum of Solace all over, though, isn't
James Bond is obviously a fictional character, so none of it is real. But if there were such a thing as James Bond, he's not going to have Quantum of Solace written over his watch. Right, so we're going to start in chronological order. Now, when I say chronological order, obviously the order of the films, because it doesn't go in line with the books. I'm a huge fan of the books. I've read them all twice. What's interesting is, in the books, Ian Fleming, obviously, he portrays it as a Rolex watch. Right from the get-go, he's always mentioning brands of what Bond's wearing, what he's drinking, what he's eating, places that he's going. He's always name-dropping. So I do think the Rolex Submariner was very fitting. And at that time, it was the Rolex 6538, which is known as like the Big Crown model. So that's where we're going to start. So Dr. No. So in this film, which we discussed in the last video, my favourite Bond, Sean Connery, that's where it all started. Now, for collectors, the 6538, it's probably the most collectible Submariner. I would say this, of the reasons why. No crown guards, the Big Crown, as is what it's also known, the 4-liner, and it's got the red triangle on the bezel, and it's a small... I think it's 37.5, 38 millimeter case. So it's got the best proportions. What's not to like? It's been reported it was actually Sean Connery's watch.
Wouldn't be surprised. There were no brand deals at the time, were there?
No, but I think they were just using... Rolex never paid for their watches to be in there. It was just because why wouldn't Bond be wearing a Rolex?
Exactly.
Well, not... Is that a Rolex? No, Omega.
Bye.
I don't know how that scene went. Right, next up, we're not going very far. We're going to film number 2. My favourite film, book of the whole franchise, From Russia with Love. I was going to do it with the Russian accent, but it would sound weird.
Russia.
From Russia with Love. That just sounds more like Jamaican or something. Yeah. So Sean Connery's back again. Bond watches still aren't, adapted by Q yet. And it was the 6538 again, but I just think it deserves the honourable mention. It's that good, and Sean Connery's there. Interesting, in the book, I don't think it's in the film. I could be wrong. but in the book, Red Grant, the evil Red Grant from Spectre.
Because that's not a generalisation. Red Grant.
That's what he's called. I mean, listen, these books were written in the 50s.
Yeah.
So, anyway, in the book, he's described as having a solid gold Gerard Perregaux.
Of course, because it had the wacky with the garrote. Well, you said like...
Well, not in the books, but...
Well, in the film he did. That was the big thing. He had that's how he killed everyone. He pulled it out of his watch and he would...
Next up, now I know you were going to think, as I'm saying Goldfinger, which I know is film number 3.
Goldfinger.
And I know it's still Sean Connery. And yes, he's still wearing the Rolex Big Crown. But more importantly, there's 2 points I want to make here. It's the first time that a NATO strap is being dropped in, or they're going to call it fabric strap. Put a picture of it here. Oh my god, does it not fit the watch? But it's still kind of cool. I actually kind of want to do that. He's wearing a NATO strap, but there's like a motorway on each side of the spring bar. More interestingly, though, and I have to say this with a straight face, and also if you don't believe me, please put this into Google. Pussy Galore.
It shouldn't be funny.
Yes, that's her actual name. But yeah, so Google it. She's wearing a Rolex GMT, which is like super cool. It was a reference 6542. But it gets an honourable mention. The first time they dropped the GMT.
I'd have taken her as a dress watchy. But I suppose she was kind of meant to be a bit butch.
Butch?
Well, yeah, but like kind of like in a I can handle myself kind of way.
What part of Pussy Galore is going to be butch? Next up, it's film number 4. It's Thunderball. Still got our boy Sean Connery in it. The Submarine is still there, but that's not what we're going to talk about. Interestingly, other watches of note, there is a Breitling Navitimer, a reference 806 in this film, but the one I want to talk about is the Breitling Top Time. Hugh has finally jazzed his watch up. It doubles as a Geiger counter. In 2013, and this has been widely reported, someone picked this watch up at like a flea market in England. So guess how much they paid for it?
20 quid.
25. Good thing. And then put it to auction. How much do you think? How do you think they cashed in? 100,000. That's a score. If ever there's one, like that's the dream of all watch collectors. I really like the Breitling Top Time in this. Obviously, it doesn't look like the normal Top Time because it's got this like cushion case around it. And they put it on. I'm pretty sure it's on like 2 different straps. It's on at some points on the metal strap, then it's on a black strap in the film as well.
When does he get time to change the strap?
I don't know. Where's he get time to like wear another watch?
We never see inside Bond's case. Like, what's he keeping in there?
I don't know. I mean, he always packs light anyway. He's a secret agent.
Gun, bomb, watch straps.
What about the bullets? Oh my god, this thing. Where's all his bullets? Like, where are they putting all of those? I don't know. But, yeah, it's cool. Right, we're finally going to jump. We're going to film number 7.
God for that.
Whoa, don't put a downer on it.
Just like Sean Connery, like...
Well, we're moving on to, I believe you said this guy's your favourite. So it's On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
It is the worst title ever, I'll give you that.
George Lazenby, the Australian bum...
Who wears a kilt.
Go figure. I mean, he's literally the worst ever Bond. So in this one, Bond is literally like throwing it up. He wears a Rolex Submariner 5513 and he wears the 6358. But the watch we're going to talk about, more interesting to collectors, it's the 6238. It's known as the pre-Daytona. So it was the chronograph they did before the Daytona, powered by the Valjoux 72. 36mm, so awesome size for collectors and those of us that are true to the classics Rolex size. 36mm. I mean, it's a super collectible watch. Obviously, it's known as the pre-Daytona. I've never seen one in person. I want to. If you've got one,
specifically that one.
No, I certainly haven't seen that one.
Come on, George.
You would hope that. I mean, obviously, he absolutely bummed the film. Hopefully they let him keep one watch because he was that awful. I don't think there's
I'm going to hold back my opinion here. What about the film in general?
Yeah.
Blofeld was good. It's a very good depiction of Blofeld.
So yeah, he changes that watch a few times in the film, which...
Again, when is he getting time to start picking watches?
But if he kept any of them, hopefully he kept that one. Interesting, the Valjoux 72 movement, that's used in a lot of iconic watches at the time, before, 69 was actually the year when loads of super famous movements came out, like the El Primero, and whatnot. So, yeah, props to them. Rolex, on the chronograph, they weren't even using their own move. Even in the 90s, they were using the Zenith El Primero movement, and they only kind of came out with theirs after that. So, yeah, I just thought, little mention. Georgie.
Humble George.
You
Is he even still alive?
No idea. Does anyone care? Moving on, so let's see a little bit of trivia here. The debut of Roger Moore, who was once my favourite. He's still my number 2. Live and Let Die. The Rolex Submariner comes back, but it's the 5513. But this is the one where it was like the circular saw.
Yes.
So Q hooked him up.
One of the best Q gadgets so far.
And actually, it worked as a magnet as well.
Yes, it did.
Because the actual, the prop version of this watch had no movement in it whatsoever, because it was obviously, they chucked it all out to make it go... Yeah. It's come up for auction before. Interesting in that film as well, they had a Pulsar LED digital watch. But, I mean, this was 1973 the film came out, and obviously the 70s is when the quartz crisis happened, and basically kicked it out the Swiss watch industry.
Is that the one that moves?
That one. Yeah. Right, next.
That's never going down.
Right, we're jumping along. The Spy Who Loved Me. Yeah, I know. This is
not one of the best.
So this was 1977. This is when they were really digging through scripts and thinking, how do we remanufacture the novels? There was the Rolex GMT in this, kind of keeping the analog spirit alive. But why I picked this one is the Seiko 0674 LC. This is the one.
The message thing.
Yeah, so prints out like this. So it's like double 007 to report, and he gets this little.
It's just the worst.
It's what's those things called? The dynamo or dymo tape.
Yeah, it's just the most pointless gadget in the world. There's a million ways.
Yeah, it's got the 2 little buttons. It's kind of
that
cool.
Screams at something that Seiko tried to pay to be in.
I think at that time it was just very quartz watches were in. You have to remember at that time watches were a necessity. They weren't because people were trying to... Well, they weren't necessarily because they were trying to show wealth, so everyone needed a watch. So if you suddenly got offered, a watch that was way more accurate and at a fraction of the cost, and it was this cool digital thing, which was just, digital stuff was probably super cool. Right, moving on, we're going to Moonraker. So this was from one of the original Bond novels. In the original novels, it was the first one where James Bond was purely set in England, and it's a bit but it's good. So he's wearing the watch which I'm from the film that I'm going to talk about is, I've got to read this because they're things. The Seiko M354 Memory Bank Calendar was the one that he was wearing. Obviously it was space themed. And, it had an explosive charge in it, from memory. It's not really else to say. I mean, it's bang on for 1979. It couldn't have been more kind of on trend if they tried.
It fits in with Moonraker. It was the cheesiest Bond film in history.
Was it?
You got Jaws and his missus floating off into space, all happy, and you got Bond going into space and having a laser fight. Just as everything's kicking off, they're not trying to capitalise at all. Standard. It's cheesy as hell, but the watch fits. The watch fits.
Right, moving on. Just for pure comedy, Octopussy. It's the Seiko G757 Sports 100 was kind of the main one. But I'd also... Actually, no, it's not the main one, actually. I'm going to go... It's the Seiko TV watch. So it's the one where Q is showing it to Bond, still being played by Roger Moore, and there's this bit where he's he goes on the camera because he's trying to see, because the TV screen is coming out on the watch, and he literally zooms in on that woman's chest, and he's there in, out, in, out, and Q's
so
just
unnecessary.
And Q's just ugh.
Don't you do that, 007.
Basically, yeah. I mean, at that time. 1983, Also, year I was born, so awesome. Also, actually, Michael Jackson released Thriller that year, I think.
Yes.
Was it Thriller? Yeah, I think he released, it was the album Thriller that year. That's his best-selling album. So, yeah.
That's not the priority order of what happened that year, though, is it?
No, I think it was me.
Yeah, of course it was.
Or Octopussy. Classic.
Because I know you're not going to talk about Amigas in this one. However, you do have one Amiga to talk about, don't you?
I do. So, quick segue. New watch dropping in the shop. We've got all sorts. We've got a Rolex Submariner dropping. But we're going to talk about an Amiga today. So this is... it's nearly period correct. Well, it depends which...
Well, it's a watch as old as Bond himself.
Exactly. So it's a 1953 Amiga Seamaster, but calendar. And the calendar reference is... I wouldn't go as far as saying rare, but it's not common that you get this configuration. So on the dial, it's got the 12, 3, and 9, which is cool. Then at 6, you've got the date aperture. The reference on this watch is a 2757. Not that it makes any difference because Amiga at that time, you weren't really going off reference numbers. It's got the bumper movement. So if you give it like a little shake, you can hear it, the movement banging against. The case, I would say, the case is either unpolished or maybe it's had one polish. There's no way to be 100% sure, but I would say this watch is from 1953 and the bevels on the lugs and on the case, they're 100% intact. You've got the Amiga logo on the crown. I don't know if that's going to bring it up. And you've got the domed plexi. It's an original watch. I put it on a new strap. The dial is... The dial's original, and it's got patina, and it's got aging. It's not the best dial that you're going to find. You are going to find more immaculate ones out there, which you're going to pay through the roof for, by the way. What I would say as well is the Seamasters of this era, if you're looking at a dial and it's perfect, look into it. It's going to be repainted or refinished. Not original. There are loads that are refinished, and that's okay as long as you know what you're buying. I bought my mother an Amiga from 1955, which was a birth year watch for her, and I had the dial redone on it. And the reason I got that one at a super good price, and there was a mark on the dial, and some watchmaker in his wisdom had thought, I'll give it a rub and see if it comes out. And what they actually left was a stain down the dial, so I ended up getting it repainted because it was just... There's a point of keeping things original and a point where you do need to get it redone. This one is still original. There's patina. It's a really nice kind of gold sort of colour, but there are spots of patina.
For nearly 70 years, though.
And the indices are like properly like raised, stuck on. The date window is really nicely cut out. The gold indices. Yeah, I like it. It's a very honest Amiga Seamaster. The case back as well, it's just got Seamaster at the very top. You're never going to see it on here. You've got to catch it in the right light to see it
in the photos.
But you can get it engraved as well, which I think is really cool. You can change the straps all the time on it. It's really cool. No box or papers, obviously. It's 70 years old. It's a super good price, though, so check it out in the shop. There's pictures up there. £1,200. Wait.
I think it's 1,100.
Let me say this again. It's £1,100 for an honest vintage Seamaster. That's a deal. And such a dick. And it's just been serviced. It's had new seals. It's good to go. If you thought that there was a worse Bond than the Australian bum George Lazenby, there was, and his name was Timothy Dalton.
Oh. I didn't bring up Tim Dalton for one reason last time. I knew
he's
it would just get me heat. He's not very James Bond, but he is.
He's rumoured at that time, which was 1987, that he beat Pierce Brosnan in the casting to become the next James Bond.
I'm reading about it, yes.
What the f***? Who there was there at like...
If I remember right...
Who's the production company at that time? Obviously it was like...
it was probably MGM still, wasn't it?
Or broccoli.
I seem to remember it's something to do with him being Pierce Brosnan was too old to play Bond, despite the fact that they then hire him a few years later. It was either he was too old or he was too inexperienced or he was too young. It was one of the three.
I think maybe too young. I think it was too old at that point.
But,
anyway,
yeah.
They made a terrible decision. The only reason I'm bringing this one up is it is the only time that Tag Heuer, because it was Tag Heuer by then, got the nod and got in on the action. And it's the reference 980 spot 031. But some people call it the night dive reference, and it was the Tag Heuer Dive Watch 1000, really. That's what we know it as, and it was just blacked out, PVD coated, which did not stand the test of time well, whatsoever. Here's a picture. I don't think there's really anything else to say. I think Tag Heuer missed a really good opportunity right then, because at that point, obviously, Heuer was bought out by Technique Avant-Garde, and which essentially was an investment vehicle company. They should have been all over trying to get into the Bond franchise. They missed out. They probably dropped the ball.
Been, as you said.
I think this film, The Living Daylights, Timothy Dalton, Tag Heuer, recipe for disaster.
Leave Timothy alone.
What's good about him? He's an absolute he ruined his life. Two people come in and save the whole Bond franchise. Number one, boom, Pierce Brosnan lands down, and he's like, "Fuck you, Timothy, motherfucker. I've got this." And he makes Bond all sexy again. And two, Jean-Claude Biver, who's heading up Amiga at this point because he sold Blancpain for 60 million Swiss francs, and he's there like doing mad stuff. He sets up the Amiga deal with Bond. And ever since then, it's been Amiga the whole way. So the new watch comes in. It's the Seamaster Professional 300M. Interestingly, they chose the quartz model, but maybe that was because they wanted something that was technologically accurate and hard-wearing. The blue dial, it's always been known as the Bond watch since then. I think, really, I think it was a really good choice.
Good choice for a good movie.
Everything was good about GoldenEye. The film was very good. Better still, the N64 came out from Nintendo. GoldenEye dropped. The split 4 screens.
Is it bad that I was raised on that game at the age of 6?
Listen, I remember I either sold my Super Nintendo or my PlayStation 1 to buy the Nintendo 64.
Either was a good choice.
They were both amazing choices. To buy the N64 was a terrible idea. The only good game that ever came out on that really was GoldenEye.
Don't you start. You have angered the YouTube comments. You just wait.
I don't care. Pierce Brosnan came in.
I don't care.
I don't care. Oh yeah.
He's Irish as well.
Pierce Brosnan was Irish.
Surely.
I'm glad the fact that he did very well to mask the fact that he was Irish. I think that saved it. We're quickly stopping at Quantum of Solace, not because it's in my list. I'm only mentioning it because it was the worst Amiga Bond watch that they bought out.
Re-mentioning it.
Oh yeah, I mentioned it earlier.
That's salty.
The Quantum of Solace on the dial. I mean, this watch is just... The Planet Ocean was hot at the time, but I'm sorry, this watch was dog shit, just like the film. Anyway, we're going to move on. Right, so we're going to end it on Spectre. Now, Amiga did the Seamaster 300 for this film, and I think this is the first time that Amiga did a Bond watch that was commercially super successful with watch collectors. The other watches, yeah, they sold before, they were available still after the film came out new and at a discount. This was the first time they were properly hot. It was hard to get one, and they were selling over retail afterwards. They still are to this day. They're trading £6,000 to £9,000.
Now, do you think it was because of the configuration or because it's the first time since Casino Royale they've drawn attention to the watch in the film?
No, I think it's the first time that they did the watch right, and that's why it got picked up by collectors. So they did there's a standard 300, but this one had 2, maybe 3 significant changes. One, the second hand, they had the lollipop hand. 2, the Amiga kind of logo at the top was a little bit different, and they presented it. This is when they really kind of went full bore on their NATO straps that Amiga do. Now, it did come with the metal bracelet as well, but on the Amiga strap, it was very reminiscent of when it came out. was going to say Dr. No, Goldfinger.
Goldfinger.
So the NATO, which they bought it out on, was very reminiscent from Goldfinger when they originally did the NATO. It's exactly the same colourway, except for this time they actually made it fit. So yeah, I think that's why it picked up with collectors. That's why it's still doing commercially well, going over RRP. In the film as well, oddly, there was also an Aquaterra, and Amiga did like a special Spectre edition of that, but that didn't do anywhere near as well. I think it was like blue dial with a yellow seconds hand.
It was very, very odd. I didn't.
That never got picked up, and it was a limited edition. This 300M, I think, it was probably the Amiga in the limited editions. I mean, it was like 7,000.
Well, they've only got a couple of limited editions anyway, so
yeah,
what's one more?
Amiga never overplay the limited edition thing, do they?
No.
So, but I think it was a cool watch. I think it's the best one that they've done. Obviously, you've got the No Time to Dive, which is coming out for the film now, but that's not a limited edition, and it's not doing like crazy numbers on the aftermarket. You can pick it up well below RRP.
That was good. No clicking for a change.
No clicking. So yeah, I think we're going to end it out there, and good riddance to Daniel Craig. Bye.
I guess you could say you've got no time for him.
I've got no time for him. He did all right portraying James Bond. I am being objective in that point, as I think was it you that sent me his like leaving speech that he did on set, and so he's like, I know there's been a lot that's been said about blah blah blah. He's there like, I truly loved every moment. Did you? Yeah,
you
whatever.
Can't see me hitting my head against this wall.
Anyway, if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching. I think we're done here. Oh yeah, check out the website, robinhenrywatches.com.
And a free hat to the person who can name the best Bond film of all time.
Which is?
It's from
Russia with Love.
No, they don't know that answer.
Well, listen, you're gonna have to make. It's going to
be what we deem as correct.
You're going to need to put an argument forwards to convince me or you otherwise. But yeah, check out the website robinhenrywatches.com. Check out my Instagram, robinhenrywatches. Am I on anything else? I don't think so, but check it out.
We'll make a Tinder next time.
We will not. You put yourself on it, Gerald.
Yeah.
Anyway, good chat. I should have asked for the money back for the watch, but I was being reasonable because I thought we were friends.
That is not correct. Because according to the encyclopedia...
Turns out they had other ideas that apparently we're not friends.